Financial planners trust our strategy, and so should you, and here's why. Yeah, so yesterday I had a call with two financial planners, actually. It was a husband and wife team. The light bulb finally went off for them, and they became believers too. You know, they had an initial call with somebody on my team, and because they're financial planners, not all, again, I'm painting it with a broad brush, but a lot of them, you know, like, well, let me throw this at them. Let's see if they can overcome this. Like, we have our very specific wheelhouse. We're not financial planners. We're not tax strategists. Like, this is our wheelhouse. Like, when it comes to financing real estate, we know this like the back of our hand. So what I had heard from one of my team members is that they kept throwing out things like, you know, should I also take some of this capital, put it in a SEP IRA, and then do this? And then what about an IUL versus a whole life policy? And again, it's, you're on the call for replace your mortgage. Why do that? And I think what it was just really trying to debate to kind of fill out this other person or make this other person feel like this financial planner knew far more about finances than they did, than the financial planner did. And anyways, I ended up having a phone call with both the husband and wife yesterday. And at this point, they had met their match, right? And long story short, they became believers. I'm going over it with them. You know, they had the same myths and misconceptions of like, okay, well, if we have this, you know, what if our income is disrupted? I was like, okay, ask yourself the same question on the mortgage route. If you stay in a mortgage and you don't refinance that to a first lien position or home equity line of credit, and you lose your income, let's go down that rabbit hole. What happens? They're like, well, you know, if we don't have income long enough, then eventually miss payments. I said, how many missed payments before they foreclosed? They're like, you know, 4 months. I said, exactly. 120 days in, after 4 missed payments, you foreclose. And why is it that you would miss those payments? Even though you've got $121,000 worth of equity in your home, why would you miss those payments? Would you miss those payments if you had instant access to the equity in that home? They're like, no. I was like, no, you wouldn't. You'd be able to tap into it. So now let's go back to the HELOC side. You lose your income, what do? They're like, we just tap into the equity to make the payments on our behalf. I said, bingo, do you foreclose? No. Sometimes we overcomplicate things when it's really simple. And what I hate in our industry and really finance industry is we use these big terms and this verbiage to try to make ourselves sound smart. And it really, all it does is confuse the consumer. When I think what we do best is it's not dumbing it down, it's really just speaking clearly. You know, another example is you ask an attorney to draft up terms and conditions, right? And it's like you read it and you're like, this is English, but I just read 2 paragraphs and I don't get the gist of it because it's all legalese. Why not take the same thing and just put it in plain English, right? That's what we do really well. And I can't stand it when other people do it the opposite just so they can sound smart so that other people trust them. But that's not really garnering trust. Confusion is the quickest answer to a no. And another point in this conversation, and the wife actually laughed at the husband for this, because he's like, so, you know, if I do your promo rate stacking method where I get a 1% home equity line of credit, but yet I've got a 6% IUL over here, I could do arbitrage and make a 5% return. And I said, no, that's not a 5% return, that's your margin. And he goes, well, 1 and 6, the difference is 5, that's a 5% return. I was like, you're confusing the terminology of margin and rate of return. I said, it's a 5% margin. However, your rate of return is 500%. He's like, 500%. And finally, the light bulb went off. And I said, it's really this simple. And this is why I say we do a good job of making things that seem complex really easy. I said, take that percentage symbol and just give it a denomination. Let's call it $1. So if you turn $1 into $6, what's your rate of return? He goes, 500%. I was like, exactly. So if you turn 1% into 6%, that is also 500% rate of return. Hence why banks make so much money. You know, people have this misconception that when rates are higher, banks and lenders make more money. No, it's the inverse. I'll give you an example. Let's say during COVID, when the federal funds rate was 0 to 0.25, their cost of funds is 0.25, right? Let's call it 25 cents. But they lend out at 3.25. That's thousands of a percent rate of return. However, when the federal funds rate is 3 to 3.5 and they're lending out at 7, they're not even making 100% rate of return. So you think the higher rate makes them more money. It's actually the higher rate makes them less money. So banks want lower rates. Not only does it garner more clients and more lending opportunities, but also more deposits and a better rate of return, because the margin, although that margin between 1/4 to 3.25 is 3% versus a 3% federal funds rate to 7% is 4% margin. The margin is just margin. Keep it in its own box. Rate of return is what they're after. So even that concept was a bit confusing for this financial planner. And we need to be careful who we trust with so much of our assets. When people go to refinance their home, if they have a financial planner, who they call? Their financial planner. There's very little, and I have studied for the Series 6 and 7. I have a license on insurance, but I never went to get my license on equities and securities. But I've studied for it. There is very, very little about real estate finance. I'll give you an example. Realtors probably know more about real estate finance than financial planners do, because at least they had to take some type of continuing education to keep their license that gave them a couple hours of mortgage education. Who's the most educated person to talk to on that topic? Not a banker, but a loan officer. Because what do every single day? They're specialists. Don't work with generalists. If you want somebody to manage your 401k, find somebody who's a specialist at a 401k. Like, I have a disability insurance. Not that I get paid, but I bought it just in case in the future I have a disability. So my financial planner, who's licensed to do so, he's like, not my wheelhouse, but I've got a guy, that's the only thing he does. And I know you, Michael, you only work with specialists. So he's the disability geek, and that's technically, I think it's even his domain, but that's what he's called. So I call him, we go through the multi-month process of application and kind of defining, what I want life to look like. Should I be disabled and I can't perform as CEO of a company? What should it pay out? How much am I prepared to put into it? Blah, blah, blah. That's the only thing he does. He is a specialist. A financial planner is no different than a banker. They are generalists. A banker is a generalist too. Can you call up a banker? Hey, I'd like to get a mortgage. Yeah, we can help you with that. Hey, I'd like to get a checking account. Yeah, I'll help you with that. You can help with a lot of things, but you're not an expert in any one thing. Have not yet, with a financial planner that's willing to sit down and understand what we do and why we do it, to disagree with us. One, you can't dispute the math. Two, they're incentivized to agree with us. Why? Because what we do is we create more capital for that customer or that client. That who benefits if they have access to more capital? The financial planner, because who's the next call? Hey, now that they're going to save you $150,000, $250,000, $400,000, $500,000, I actually got a good place that you can put that, because I also earn a commission. So they're a bit biased. They're incentivized to agree with us, but they also can't dispute the math. So again, if you trust a financial planner, they also trust us, and that's why you should as well. If you learned anything from this video, please do me a favor, like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us grow the channel. It helps us get our message out to more people. Our core 4 is impact over income. So we're looking to share this with more Americans that are struggling in today's America to make ends meet. We feel like we can help a lot of people, and by liking and subscribing, you're going to help the channel grow. If you'd like to learn more about what we do and why we do it, you can click the links in the bio below, and we'd be happy to help you. Y'all take care. God bless.